Hello, everyone. It's Miss B, that's me. And today we have Miss Yandy Smith of Love and Hip Hop. And she is reading a chapter out of Tamika Mallory's new book. She is supporting her friend who has a new book out. And if anyone can, please support this young black woman. Renowned activist and social justice leader Tamika D. Mallory is set to release her powerful new memoir, I Live to Tell the Story. This deeply personal book offers an unfiltered look at the experiences that shaped her, from growing up in a family of civil rights organizers to enduring personal trauma, motherhood struggles, and public scrutiny. A follow up to her acclaimed State of Emergency, Mallory's latest work delves into healing, survival, and resilience beyond activism. I Live to Tell the Story is a testament to the power of truth and perseverance in the fight for justice.
So listen, really quickly, my girl Tamika D. Mallory released her book this week. Today is actually the last day of the week. Thank you so much. That's his over there. I want to make sure that we are supporting and making sure our sister ends up on the New York Times bestsellers list. I actually have an excerpt in her book, and I wanted to read it to you guys. This book is all about her life. She has been through some things, and in order to stand in front of so many officials, politicians, police officers, and demand justice and demand that minorities have equal rights, it takes a fierce woman. And sometimes being so fierce is not so easy when you are also a mother, when you are also just trying to make it every single day as a black woman. So anyway, my excerpt from the book came at a time in her life when she was addicted to pills, and she had just come out of rehab. And our friendship just went to another level. So I'm going to read really quickly because I want you guys to go purchase this book on Amazon. If you've ever struggled, if you've ever felt like you've done so much, you don't get anything in return, if you've ever felt like this is it, you can't make it, you can't take it, let this be a story of hope. Let this be a story of triumph. Because truly it is. Truly, yes, I'm good. Truly, she has been able to conquer some demons and come out at the highest heights. So I'm here with my family, and they're gonna hear my chapter for the first time. Say hey. Amir, say hey. Kamari, say hey. Well, that's one of Amir's best friends that's hanging out with us. So I'm getting ready to. What you say? That's my son. Huh? That's my son. Boy, please. I thought you said something deep and profound. All right. So listen, quiet. I want you to hear my chapter. Okay, you guys, are you ready? I love y'all too. Okay. So this is from the book I Live to Tell the Story, and it's as told through Yandy's eyes. Throughout my friendship with Tamika, there have been naysayers and those who have questioned the bond that we've shared. My interest has never been in quieting them. They have their own insecurities and triggers for which I have no remedy. I also recognize that not a single person in the world other than Tamika is enlightened to the intricacies of what I now know to be a sisterhood in spirit and in truth. Life has shown me in more ways than one. I can count the people who lack genuine, unshakable connections in their lives will cease to recognize them as they take shape in the lives of others. More importantly, life has taught me that there are those who will establish their own narratives, and it is not, nor been, nor will ever be my place to convince them of otherwise. Instead, I vowed over a decade ago to be my sister's keeper. It is my belief that Tamika is one of those wonders of the world and worthy of preservation. My first encounter with Tamika was while working on a campaign for the Obamacare. I was intrigued. Her unprecedented levels of commitment to activism were not ones I had encountered. To see someone who looked like me and was similar age, who led the charge for widespread change and equality with the strength of lioness, was not only inspirational, but heart-stirring. The sound of her voice was thunderous when she spoke. Most profoundly, she maintained a presence with people that told the true story of her dedication. She was a leader who walked among the people. My admiration for her was immediate. If she desired that deeply to see others be signed up for healthcare, then my mind led me to believe she was someone worth knowing. After one of the meetings, I made the decision to approach her. Directly and intentionally, I said, I want to get to know you. This is my number. My company hosts events all the time. You have to come out. That gesture led me to inviting her to various events that I believed might be of interest to her. At the time, my platform was now directly correlated to the Love and Hip Hop franchise. Although I had several ventures and managed several artists before that time, the world now knew Yandy from the show. When you're a personality on TV, your platform increases in ways unconceivable, and your access to people grows. However, I often questioned if there was more assigned to me by God to use this platform. Tamika was a part of the more. There were rooms that I was in that were void of her activism. From my perspective, activists were not normally at events hosted by VH1 or industry parties, but I was there. And I knew with certainty that the people in those rooms needed to hear what she had to say. What I had not known then was that I too would be a recipient of her favor in the same way. On the brink of unforeseeable personal turmoil, Tamika proved on a bridge over troubled water, not only for me, but also for my family when we learned of my husband's pending incarceration. At no point in my life had I known to prepare for that type of judgment and scrutiny we would face. The penalty of persecution came from those who smiled in my face, and then also from those who threw daggers behind my back. In that season, I learned that not everyone in your circle is meant to remain there for a lifetime. There is merit in recognizing that some people are only for a season. Tamika, on the other hand, proved to be an all-weathered friend. Before meeting her, I had very little knowledge of her criminal justice. Before meeting her, I had very little knowledge of the criminal justice system or a hysterically heinous track record for wrongful convictions of black men. Activism was not my world, nor was it the world of anyone in my family. The necessary action to fight against injustice and inequality was foreign to me. When the grim reaper of injustice conviction knocked at my door, I immediately understood the impact. It threatened the very fibers of my family. Tamika taught me how to understand a system that was never established to protect us. I learned through research that the percentage of black men who were found guilty at federal trial is in the 90th percentile. My husband's sentence was 8 years. Out of those 8 years, he was required to serve 5. What I found to be most heart-wrenching was that he was not guilty of those charges. The pain of idly watching a piece of your heart personified in human form being torn away from you and accepting it is indescribable. Accepting my husband's absence at the hands of a misuse of the system meant to protect us did not sit well with my soul. Moreover, I was now in the process of establishing a plan to care for my husband's oldest son. At the time, little Mendici was around 8 or so. Like most youth that age, he loved to wear hoodies. Until they became international symbol representing the acceptance of hatred for black men and boys in America. I too sat in my living room and watched as the terror consumed my body during Trayvon Martin's public execution. The anxiety of knowing that we live in a world where even my best efforts to protect the black men in my life could fall short was tormenting. The reality was that America was okay with a husband, father, a friend being torn away from his family and a community for a crime he didn't commit, and a little brown boy's life being stolen as he was innocently getting candy from the corner store. Consumed with guilt, pain, and despair, I leaned heavily on Tamika to help me attain a clear vision of the world in which we lived in, and more importantly, how to take action in it. The closer the time got for my husband to turn himself in, the more the whispers transformed into roars. Some proclaimed I thought I was better than the people around me, and others accused my husband of being things that that I won't even say. It was all slander, being accepted as reality. My faith was shattered. My ability to hope was compromised. Tamika was the only person who could understand and, more importantly, discern and lead. When I reached a breaking point, I called her. Instead of a speech or a long, drawn-out exchange, our conversation was straight to the point. I got you, she said. At the time, I didn't know exactly what she meant, but I would soon learn. And now that you have your own source of understanding of this broken system, I want you to express what you feel with me to the world verbally, she urged. In my head, I thought I was too broken to find the words that would adequately describe the hardship my family faced. Not only was Tamika encouraging me to lift my voice in front of audiences I knew, but also those that I didn't know. She began inviting me into spaces to create awareness the same way I had invited her to do the same. When I expressed to her I wasn't getting invited into these rooms, she replied, well, here's your invite. These rooms need your voice. She constantly emphasized the importance of people like me being vocal, while insisting the movement needed soldiers from all walks of life. Tamika knew that if I became vocal about the injustice happening right under my roof, the face of advocacy could further evolve. She granted me a pass to speak freely in spaces that would have never considered passing the microphone to me. Since I was on Love and Hip Hop, the brand was often demonized. We were actively fighting not to be canceled by many, but I knew our voices were still yet worthy. Even so, there were times I worried that if I was unaware or ceased to use the appropriate vernacular, I wouldn't be taken seriously, or worse, I wouldn't be heard. Tamika continuously eased those concerns, urging me to be myself and to speak truth to power. Both she and I laughed often about the shared insecurity, wondering whether or not we had the right words for the rooms. It was in this space I realized activism to be a part of my purpose. It was the reason God granted me the influence garnered from being in the public eye for so many years prior. God placed me near Tamika to show me what activism in motion looked like. He allowed me to witness the fearlessness necessary to advocate for real change, had me near her. And this is what she does. I did not feel as though any of this was by coincidence. For me, activism became a source of healing, to know I wasn't just sitting back and letting the justice system dictate my life, my husband's life, and I was speaking out against injustice, and that was the wind beneath my wings to keep going. Tamika stood on the front lines for justice more than I could count, fueled by history's scorn, heritage, and the series of events that transpired in her own life. Now I was standing on the front lines with her, motivated by my own need for activism, fueled by my own personal pain. What the world witnessed was a beautiful collision of two seemingly different worlds. I looked beneath the surface, revealed a myriad of similarities. We were far more alike than different. The energy exchange and mutual understanding enveloped an unbreakable bond. As we fought together, we grew together. Now, on the other side of the system, I witnessed Tamika's work and sacrifice in a totally different light. I had a front row seat to the intricacies of her life, and more importantly, her internal struggle that resulted from an unspeakable pressure to be who she is. The outside world knew her to be powerful, resilient, and unbreakable. And she was all of those things, yet I now recognize she was human. There were moments when she questioned if she was doing enough to save us, and times when she felt she wasn't speaking up enough, working alongside allies enough, writing enough, or spreading enough awareness. It was puzzling to me as her work never ceased. She woke up working, making phone calls, and taking meetings to form alliances. She went to sleep working, writing emails, and posting to keep the public aware of injustices unfolding in the world around us. Witnessing her in this way, where did I go? Witnessing her in this way made me love her even more. There was so much relatability. I was able to pull strength from her because she gave me a new fight. She gave me a reason to think about other than the fact that I was now a single mom, a role I had not believed myself to have signed up to do. Tamika's life was proof of the fact that I still had work to do. If she experienced tragedy and still woke up and put on a strong face to fight, then I too had the substance within me to take bookings and leave my baby with my mama and find someone to help my son be a young man. At that same time, I was trying to be an entertainer and maintain my status in the industry. Not once did Tamika bring up the headlines from the blogs or what they were saying about my family or my role on the show. She never made me question whether I was not good enough for the movement, because she was the first to recognize that I too was fulfilling my purpose in that space. She didn't make me feel like I didn't belong in those spaces of activism. She made me feel like I was exactly where I was supposed to be to reach those people. With Tamika's encouragement, I realized that it didn't matter what I wasn't ready to get on, whether I wasn't ready to get on the mic, to speak out. She said I had to do it. She put me on the spot and made me speak up and made me realize I too was fighting against the breakdown of Black women. I too can be a voice for people who are like me. The people who are not considered role models and those that are not labeled as activists. My story was an example of the fact that it was possible to make it through. Her faith in me was empowering, and at that moment, the sentiment I needed most was to be empowered. The closer Tamika and I became, the more I realized that she was the strong friend who needed to be checked on. When I realized how much she had been internalizing the torment from the Women's March, my heart ached for her. There were critics who said she wasn't Black enough, not vocal enough about Black issues and the plight of Black women, and others who deemed her not enough in general to lead a magnificent charge. There were critics who expressed their disdain for her decision to attend the Nation of Islam's Savior Day. Unfortunately, society has always found a way to dehumanize Black women. From the moment we walked to the point of no return to the slave dungeons, America's assault on Black women has been woven into the fabric of our existence in this country. The attacks have always been centered around breaking down, belittling, and the removal of power from Black women. Nothing has changed. I've seen our husbands and the patriarchs of our families taken time and time again. I grew up in the projects and witnessed Black women denied Section 8 if a man was present in the house helping to raise the kids. I was too young to understand the intricacies and lasting effects of the absence of men in our homes. But today I recognize that our family units are incomplete without them. Tamika was a voice and forceful hand that ensured the violence and affliction that riddled our communities had to stop. The attacks on her life, sanity, well-being, and disposition were abundantly clear. Not only were the attacks verbal, but also financial. We watched her bookings dwindle away. We watched her speaking engagement at colleges, many of which were hysterically Black, cease. They called to say they were no longer interested in having her speak on their campuses. How could this have been the case when she was fighting for Black children and Black families? It was baffling to watch those who have been supporters turn their backs on her due to her part in a false narrative being fed to the world. The outpouring of rejection and lack of support were hurtful to her. And although the public could not visibly see her wounds, I witnessed them. My only goal was to become the source of strength for her that she unquestionably became for me. No matter what the road ahead looked like or felt like, I made a decision that I was going with her. Although in a different arena, I knew the pain of having the narrative be controlled by the public all too well. Not on my watch. I had every intention to stick beside her. There was no limit to what I was willing to do to help her, whether financially, emotionally, or physically. Our journey had been brought full circle, and our bond was unbreakable. When Tamika hit what I believed to be her lowest point, her body began to literally break down. I witnessed moments when her knees ached and her legs stopped working. There were times when her back was hurting to the point of loss of mobility. Eventually, she opened up to me about the pills she had been taking and the adverse effects. By the time she confided in me, she had made the decision to go to rehab. Her concerns about being separated from everyone she'd known and everything she loved were valid. It hurt me that I could not go with her or be there to assist her. It was agonizing in many ways because it felt like I was being refused the opportunity to be there for her when she had been there for me. And those factors. There was no single person, place, or thing that could stop me from being by her side when she returned home. After I made a call to Latoya Bond, who was managing both of us at the time, to request to be with Tamika, she made the necessary arrangements. The first day I arrived, Tamika was in great pain. She was crying and she was weak. All I could do was be by her side, and I reminded her that the pain would not last forever. I can remember physically carrying her to the bathroom, disrobing her, and washing her from head to toe. She needed to feel human again. After such an arduous process, and while I watched her, I simultaneously prayed over her for a breakthrough. I prayed for her healing and full restoration. We were both vulnerable at the moment, as I had never washed an adult. Even so, there was no way I would allow my hands, my heart, my mind, or intentions to fail her. She needed me, wanted, and deserved to be cleansed from the residue of the pain the world inflicted upon her. Not only did I bathe her, I also changed her linen. For some reason in my mind, that act of doing so represented a new beginning. Afterward, I lay in the bed beside her, and we talked about nothing and everything. Although I had never grown up in a world with brothers and sisters, there was no question that Tamika was now mine. This is coming to an end, y'all. I'm fighting tears as I write this. This is such a hard thing to be reminded of and to go back to. It was such a crazy moment because we bonded in a way that I've never bonded with anybody, but also just to see her in that space, it was hard. Okay. The world had fought to take her joy away, and I was fighting in my own way to ensure it was restored. It was not only me who needed Tamika at her best, it was all of us. It amazes me that God packaged so much power in such a tiny frame. Her gift to challenge the world's darkness with light was like nothing I'd ever seen. My heart was convinced in this time she would be back on her feet, fighting and restoring hope in the crevices of the world where it ceased to exist. She would return to bearing the weight of the world on her shoulders and standing tall for those whose legs failed them. She was the personification of the movement. Tamika D. Mallory represented the great hope of our people, which I was ready, willing, and able to defend. What neither of us could have known at the time was that God was preparing her for a powerful rebirth. She was, in fact, becoming the greatest version of herself. And every event leading up to that moment that set her back would prove to be an intricate part of the setup for her unprecedented success. Together we learned that this unspeakable joy that rests inside of the souls of Black people was not given to us by the world. Therefore, the world had no power to take it away. And that's it. That is my excerpt from I Live to Tell the Story by Tamika D. Mallory. If you guys have not already purchased the book, please go do so. It's on Amazon. There's also an Audible version that you can listen to, and I read my chapter. When I tell you this book moves me in a way that I've never been moved by any book that I've ever read, you guys have got to go get this book. Please, please, please support her. This is just one excerpt from me, but there's so many things in ways that Tamika details her life that will have you shaking at your core, because she truly is the modern Sojourner Truth or Harriet Tubman. And you know, if you think about your life, if you were alive when Martin Luther King was alive, if you were alive when Harriet Tubman or Sojourner Truth was alive, imagine standing next to them. Imagine being someone that was on the right side of history in that moment. You know, of course, you know, there's no one living right now that was around with Harriet Tubman, but imagine if you were there to chronicle her story, or if there was Instagram, or if there was a book that she wrote herself. This is the time that you guys can be a part of history. You guys are asking me the name of the book. It's called I Live to Tell the Story. I know that it's backwards, but if you look up Tamika D. Mallory on Instagram, you can see it. If you go to Amazon, look up Tamika D. Mallory. There's also, she's hosting tours and speaking engagements across the nation. If you are in Atlanta, we'll be at the gathering spot on the 23rd. I'll post the information, but you can go to her page. I think it's Tamika D. Mallory /tour. Please show up. It's open to the public. I'll be there. She'll be there. But go get this book. Please get it today. I know you're like, I'm going to put it in my cart and I'm going to save it. No, you got to get it today. Today closes out the week that she released this book. We want her to be a New York Times bestseller. So go get the book, okay? I'm going to save this live. I never save lives, but I'm going to save this one. Please support this sister. You know this is the time more than ever that we need to support our own. So make sure you go support her. Go buy the book. I love that so many of you are saying that you're going to order it today. I love that. Again, like I said, be on the right side of history because she will be in history books. And I definitely feel like you guys will be able to tell the story to your children. You'll be able to tell the story to those in your community because she is out here really making a difference and you're going to be a part of her life. So please make sure you guys go support. Buy one copy for you. Buy some copies for your kids. I just read it to my kids, my husband, because we just got a bunch of books delivered to the house. So go get it. 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them. If you're a teacher, get it for your students. You guys know that they are trying to erase Black history from our schools. This is Black history. And this is a living person doing it. You know, we can give each other flowers once we pass it. We're great at that. But while someone is living and we have the opportunity to make sure we support this movement, you never know when you are on the other side and it's one of your family members affected by an injustice and you need to call on a Tamika Mallory to come fight for justice for you. So please support her. And again, like I said, this book is great. You guys can see the duplicity of who she is because she's going to show up sometimes in her Timbs and her cornrows, or she'll have a bust down straight down the middle like, what's up with her 6 inch here, okay? And that is the beauty of what activism looks like this day and age. So please go out and support. I love you all, and I will see you later. Okay, say bye. Say bye, Amir. All right, see you guys later. Bye. All right, how do I stop?